Hello again. This is Mike from Prep2Survive.com, and I've been posting a couple things on Twitter and Facebook, and I didn't feel like it did it justice. Excuse me. So I wanted to take a quick second and just do a quick video on situational awareness. The basics of situational awareness before you can be aware of something that's out of the ordinary or something that's not right is knowing what normal is. So obviously, if you're going about your day-to-day routine, you're going to the same grocery store, going to work, maybe going to a parking garage, or walking to your office. You want to stop doing a lot of habits that people have, burying yourself in a smartphone, those sorts of things that take your focus away. In certain situations, you want to be hyper aware. You want to know if the same cars are in the parking garage. You want to know if there's somebody that's out of the ordinary in the parking garage. You want to know if you walk in to get your morning coffee, if there's something off before you even walk into the business. If people inside are acting abnormally, maybe it's getting robbed. Just those sorts of things. You can avoid a lot of undesirable situations just by knowing what normal is and being able to spot what's abnormal and then just getting away from it altogether. You don't have to be an expert in hand-to-hand combat or an expert with a knife or a firearms expert or any of these things. Those are a last resort. Those are when you're in a situation you can't get out of or you can't avoid. The best tactic ever is recognize danger and avoid it. Plain and simple. So the first step is baseline, knowing what normal is. All right, now that we know what baseline is, we want to talk about basically the signs of what is going to cue you off that something is out of the norm. Some people call it concentric rings. Some people call it tells or signs or whatever they call it. This is what it is. It's basically after you've learned what the baseline is, anything that tells your gut, that gut feeling that something's off. If you take a certain route home from work, driving or walking, if something's out of the ordinary. If you go into a business and something just isn't right, you get that feeling that something just isn't right. Maybe the teller behind the counter is overly nervous. Maybe before you walk in, you don't see the normal people shopping or whatever it is. And, you pull your car into a parking garage and you notice that there's somebody that doesn't belong. Maybe they're standing around a lot, something like that, where it's almost like they're waiting for something, but they're not getting in a car, they're not getting out of a car, they're not getting in the trunk, they're not doing anything, they're just kind of hanging out. Obviously that's something that should make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. So anyway, that's basically what you're wanting to look for, is tells or signs. In the outdoors, maybe birds, birds and animals, excellent signs. Birds all of a sudden, a bunch of birds take off, then get spooked, or maybe a dog barks, whatever. It doesn't have to be urban. It can be in the wilderness as well. You can spot where maybe a bunch of deer take off. Some obvious. You hear a gunshot. Obviously, that's something that may be out of the norm, unless it's hunting season. But so keep an eye out for things that are outside of the norm. All right. Now that we've covered the baseline and we've covered tells or signs of trouble and those sorts of things, I just very quickly want to touch on if you're in a place and trouble hasn't gotten there yet, but you're there and then trouble arrives. Again, I don't know how to put it any more plain, but I'm going to use it as an example. You're in a restaurant having dinner with some friends and somebody comes in to shoot up the place, whatever. Me personally, when I go to a restaurant, I prefer to have my back to a wall. It makes me nervous when people walk behind me. I don't like it. I like to have the entrance visible so I can see and assess people that come in and out. I don't let it interrupt my good time. I don't cue any of my party off to what I'm doing, but I just occasionally glance over at the door and just kind of quickly assess, is anybody out of the norm? Is anybody not alone? You know, most people in a restaurant, they're laughing and joking, they're there to have a good time, they're there to socialize. If somebody doesn't have that demeanor about them, instantly I'm going to pay a little more scrutiny to that person. So anyway, another thing, exits. When I walk into any place, especially a public place, I assess the exits. Restaurant, kitchen. You know, in the kitchen they have some sort of loading dock or back exit to take trash out, to get deliveries, those sorts of things. So, you know, kitchen, you know, maybe a bathroom window, front entrance, you know, fire exit, whatever. So knowing your surroundings, not just what's normal, not just what's abnormal, but knowing, like in the wilderness, your topography, knowing the structure you're in, knowing the, you know, avenues of approach, knowing, you know, where danger is more likely to come from. You know, obviously on an airplane, the aisle. You know, that's something that's very easy to assess. You know, knowing these things and be able to quickly assess those things, and over time it'll become easier and easier. Like I said, at first it's going to seem paranoid, it's going to seem tedious, but as you do it more and more, it will be seamless. People won't even notice you're doing it. Most people that have been doing this for a long time, they can walk into a place and almost instantly they can assess these things and then just go about their business. So once again, to recap, is baseline, knowing what's normal, and that's going to depend on, you know, quite possibly where you're at in the world, if you're urban, suburban, whatever. Being able to assess what normal is. Second, knowing what's out of the norm. Being able to, you know, once you have that baseline, look around and see what's out of place. And third, knowing your surroundings, knowing avenues of approach, knowing exits, knowing you know, the topography of the area if you're in the wilderness, those sorts of things. You know, knowing where your car is. You know, I mean, it doesn't have to be people that mean you harm. It could be animals. If you run into a bear, do you know which way your car is? You know, if you're hiking, do you know which way anything is? Help if you get hurt. Those sorts of things. So anyway, I'll close with that. This is Mike, Prep2Survive.com. Check out our site. Check out our Twitter. We always give out little tips, tricks, retweet things that we think you know, might help you out. More than happy to help you with your preps. Email us, call us. We're more than happy to help you put together a go bag, give you advice even if you don't buy from us. And Facebook, like us on Facebook and our page on Facebook, and you're automatically entered to win our monthly giveaway. Just that easy. But we'll see you next time. Thanks.